Women between 45 and 60 possess a magnetic aura they themselves are often unaware of. Yet there is a dangerous trap they fall into again and again, and this trap has a very clear name: younger men. And no, I'm not talking about cheap morality or social prejudice. I'm talking about hard neuroscience, evolutionary psychology, and something I've learned after 30 years of therapeutic practice. If you stay with me until the end, I will reveal the best-kept secret of why a mature woman who gets involved with a younger man is literally programming her brain for emotional failure. And even more importantly, I will give you the exact formula for how to activate this natural magnetism within you, so that every man your age, mature and stable, sees you as the most desirable woman on this planet. Before you call me crazy or old-fashioned, let me give you something you can start using today. When a 45-year-old woman looks in the mirror and sees wrinkles, she sees the exact opposite of what a mature man sees. He sees experience, wisdom, sensuality without disguise, a woman who knows what she wants and doesn't waste time on childish games. That is your first instrument of power, my dear, to flip the mental switch of what it truly means to be a mature woman. And if this message resonates with you, if you feel that you need to reignite your natural magnetism, then give this video a like, share it with a friend who you know struggles with the same issues. And please subscribe to the channel, because what we're talking about today will be intense, insightful, and believe me, you must hear it until the end. Let's start with something I've been sick of for a long time, this cultural obsession that mature women must seek younger men in order to feel young again. Honestly, since when is youth measured by the age of the man standing next to you? That's like saying we need to be with someone dumber to feel intelligent. Makes no sense, does it? I've seen hundreds of brilliant, successful women with seemingly unshakable self-worth suddenly behave like insecure teenagers the moment they were with a man 10 or 15 years younger. And no, not because they are masochistic or have reversed daddy issues, but because our brain, this wonderful yet sometimes deceptive organ, sets cognitive traps for us. It makes us believe that we are special, unique, incomparable when a younger man chooses us. Let me tell you about a patient of mine, an extraordinary 52-year-old woman, a successful manager with 2 adult children. She came into my office completely devastated because her 35-year-old boyfriend had left her for a 28-year-old. "Walter," she cried, "I thought he saw me differently, that I was someone special to him." That was exactly where the trap lay. She had placed her worth as a woman in the hands of a man whose brain was still in a completely different stage of development. And here comes the hard science, my dear reader. A 35-year-old man does not yet have a fully developed prefrontal cortex structure for long-term relationships the way you do at 45 or 50. This is not a matter of blame, it's biology. His brain is still in the mode of exploration, conquest, variety. Yours is already in the mode of depth, stability, quality over quantity. Do you see the imbalance? And before you come at me with examples like, "My friend's cousin is happily married to a younger man," let me ask you, how many exceptions do you know compared to the disasters? Yes, our brain is neuroplastic. It adapts. But why on earth should you adapt downward when you can grow upward? Look, I used to think relationships were like pants. If they're a bit too big or too small, whatever, the important thing is to have one. How wrong I was. Relationships are like shoes. If they don't fit perfectly, they will hurt you with every step. A mature woman with a younger man is literally wearing shoes in the wrong size. At first, it may feel comfortable and exciting, but over time, every step hurts. And the pain doesn't come from the outside, but from within, because deep down, you know you are forcing something that does not naturally fit. And let me be clear, I'm not talking about an age difference of 2 or 3 years. I'm talking about gaps where he could be your youngest son, where you consciously lived through the 80s while he was just learning to walk. These aren't just numbers, these are entire worlds of experience that cannot be shared. And do you know what the saddest part is? When a mature woman gets involved with a younger man, she sends a terrible message to her own brain. I am not enough the way I am. I need the validation of someone younger to feel valuable. That is poison for your self-esteem, a poison no Botox in the world can heal. So ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you truly felt desired by a man your age or older? And I don't mean glances at the supermarket or comments on social media. I mean that deep feeling of being desired, respected and appreciated for everything you are, including your years and your experience, not in spite of them, but because of them. If you can't remember, then we need to talk seriously. Because the problem is not your age, the problem is that you are looking in the wrong place. Younger men see you as an adventure, as an experience, as something new to try. Mature men see you as a real possibility, as someone with whom they can build something stable. And now ask yourself, what truly nourishes your soul as a woman? Before we continue, I want you to imagine one thing, the most magnetic woman you know. That woman who is neither the youngest nor the most conventional, yet still has men in the palm of her hand. Do you already have someone in mind? Perfect. I guarantee you that woman is not chasing younger men. Why? Because she knows something that you are about to discover. If this video is triggering something in you right now, if you feel like I'm speaking directly to you, then please write in the comments what has touched you the most so far. And if you know a woman who needs to hear this message, share the video with her. Sometimes we need someone to tell us truths we've known all along but haven't dared to admit. Let's move on. There's one thing that fascinates me about women who get involved with younger men. They all tell me the same thing. Walter, he makes me feel young again. And then I ask, what's actually wrong with feeling comfortable at your real age? Silence, discomfort. That's exactly where the problem lies. We live in a culture that has brainwashed us. Being young equals being the best, the most desirable, the only thing that counts. But let me tell you something I learned from my Buddhist teachers. Youth is beautiful, but maturity is powerful. And power, my dear, is infinitely more attractive than fleeting beauty. A 45-year-old woman has a strength that a 25-year-old does not. She knows what she wants. She knows what she will no longer tolerate. She has learned how to say no without guilt. She has developed a sensuality that doesn't depend on firm skin, but on the depth of her soul. That is pure magnetism. But if you don't value this treasure within yourself, if you believe your best years are behind you, then you will seek mirrors that reflect an image of you that no longer exists, instead of celebrating who you are today. And younger men are such distorted mirrors. They give you a warped image of yourself, pleasant in the moment, but damaging in the long run. Let me explain this with simple neuroscience. Our brain has something called confirmation bias. That means we look for information that confirms what we already believe. If you believe you are only valuable when you are young, you will seek men who make you feel young. If you believe your experience, wisdom, and maturity make you valuable, you will seek men who appreciate exactly that. Do you see the difference? It's not just about preference, it's about mental programming. And the good news, thanks to neuroplasticity, we can reprogram ourselves at any age. We can change our thought patterns that keep leading us to the wrong place. And now something that truly pains me. I have seen extraordinary women who raised children, built careers, survived difficult divorces, and yet became shadows of themselves when they were with younger men. Why? Because deep down they felt they had to compete with women his age. Imagine that mental torture with all your experience and wisdom trying to be like a 25-year-old. That's like Meryl Streep trying to play Selena Gomez. Possible? Maybe. Necessary? Absolutely not. The world needs Meryl as Meryl, not as a cheap copy of someone younger. And then there's the anti-aging industry convincing us that we must fight against our own nature, against time. Honestly, time is not your enemy, my dear reader. Time is your ally. Every year lived is an award. Every wrinkle is proof of survival. Every grey hair is evidence of acquired wisdom. Yet we let ourselves be convinced that we are better the younger we look, and younger men reinforce this illusion because it benefits them. They get sexual experience, emotional and financial stability, and a woman who treats them like kings because she feels lucky to have them. And you get drama, insecurity, and the constant feeling of not being enough. Look, I'm not a moral preacher. If a woman wants to occasionally have adventures with younger men, go for it. But when it comes to serious relationships, to heart, future, emotional investment, then we are talking about a game that statistically fails more often than it succeeds. And don't come at me with love knows no age. Oh yes, love does know age. Mature love is different from teenage love. It is deeper, more stable, more conscious. To experience that, you need someone who has also developed that capacity, love that comes from maturity, not just novelty.
Ask yourself, why have older men historically often sought younger women? Simple, because they could offer stability, resources, experience, things those women valued. But when an older woman seeks a younger man, what can she give him that he couldn't get from someone his age without all the social and emotional complications?
The uncomfortable answer: convenience. A relationship without the same level of commitment expected from a woman of his own generation. An experience without real consequences. But you want more, don't you? You want real connection, sincere love, a life partnership. So ask yourself honestly, how many younger men do you know who have left their partner permanently for an older woman? And how many of those are still together after 5 or 10 years? I bet very few. The statistics are harsh but clear. Relationships with large age gaps where the woman is older fail far more often than relationships between equals. Not just because of social prejudice, but because of different life stages, priorities, emotional maturity. But now comes something that truly excites me. Women who have learned to value their own maturity, who derive strong self-worth from their achievements and personal growth. These women are magnets for mature, successful, stable men. Why? Because these men see them as equal partners, not trophies. A 50-year-old man who has worked on himself, defeated his demons, and is looking for a true life companion will not waste his time on teenage games. He wants a woman with whom he can talk about international politics, who understands the pressures of work, who knows how to handle the challenges of teenage or adult children. This man doesn't need a cheerleader who makes him feel young. He wants a partner who makes him feel whole. And you, my dear reader, have everything he is looking for, but only if you recognize and value it yourself. May I be brutally honest, women who seek younger men almost always have a self-worth problem disguised as rebellion or modernity. They tell themselves they are breaking rules, being free, enjoying life. But scratch just a little beneath the surface and you find fear. Fear of not being enough for an equal man, fear of being judged for their age, fear of their own mortality. And believe me, I understand that. Living in a society that tells you your worth as a woman expires at 40 is damn hard. But the solution is not to seek validation in younger arms. The solution is to change the internal value system that feeds you these lies. Do you know what makes the difference between an insecure and a confident woman at 45? The insecure one needs others to see her as young. The confident one makes others hope to be like her when they reach her age. The insecure competes with younger women. The confident plays in her own league. And when you play in your own league, when you develop that inner certainty born from self-awareness, crises you've overcome, and growth through life experience, you naturally attract men who also operate in their own league. Men who are mature, stable, self-assured, and don't need a younger woman to feel masculine. Let me tell you something that changed my perspective forever. A few years ago, I met a 58-year-old woman at a conference. She wasn't conventionally beautiful, hadn't had any cosmetic surgery, and her hair was completely white, but she had something absolutely magnetic. Men of all ages wanted to talk to her, to be near her. Her secret? Very simple. She was deeply in love with herself. Not with her younger version, not with who she once was, but with who she was in that very moment. She spoke passionately about her projects, her travels, her favorite books. She had strong opinions but listened respectfully. She laughed wholeheartedly and wasn't afraid to show her emotions. This woman taught me something fundamental. Magnetism has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with authenticity. When you are truly yourself, when you have made peace with your story and look forward to your future, you radiate an energy that is irresistible to the men who truly matter. But when you try to be someone you no longer are, just to attract someone who shouldn't be by your side in the first place, you waste your most valuable resource, your authenticity. Now I ask you for a favor. Think of your last 3 meaningful relationships. In which of them did you feel the most like yourself? In which could you show every facet of who you are without fear of judgment? I guarantee you, it wasn't in the relationships with significantly younger men, because there is always a part of you acting, trying to be cooler, younger, more laid back than you really are. And that performance is exhausting. It's like going to a party in shoes 2 sizes too small. At first you feel glamorous, but after a few hours, all you want is to go home and take them off. That's exactly how it feels when you're with someone around whom you can't be fully authentic. Mature men who have lived enough to value substance over surface, don't want a performance. They want reality, depth. They want a woman who is so at home in her own skin that she gives them that same feeling of home. Let me ask you another question. Have you ever noticed how your body language changes when you're with a younger man compared to someone your age or older? With the younger one, you're likely constantly in seduction mode, trying to impress, to prove you're cool and fun. With an older man, if he's the right one, you're probably more relaxed, more yourself. That difference in body language is no coincidence. That's your body telling you something your mind refuses to hear, that you are forcing something that doesn't flow naturally. And speaking of things that don't flow naturally, let's talk about future plans. Have you ever made serious 5 or 10-year plans with a younger man? Have you talked about retirement, life goals, the legacy you want to leave behind? Probably not, because he is in a completely different life phase. He's thinking about building his career, maybe having children, adventuring through the world. You, on the other hand, have already gone through those phases, laid your foundations. You are now in a phase of refinement, enjoyment, deepening what truly matters. Do you see the discrepancy? Neither phase is better or worse. They are simply different. But when you try to synchronize 2 biological and psychological clocks that run in completely different rhythms, it leads to frustration, misunderstandings, and a constant feeling that something isn't fitting. With someone by your side who is in the same life phase, who has had similar experiences, who understands your cultural references, shares your concerns and dreams, with someone like that you can build something solid, something lasting. And now something fascinating. Women who break out of the pattern of constantly seeking younger men and begin to appreciate men their age or older are automatically more appreciated by those men. It's as if, in the dating world, beyond a certain level of maturity, there is a secret code. I only play with players on my level. Mature men, the good ones, have a fine radar for detecting women who are secure in themselves, as opposed to those who crave external validation. And they are drawn to the former because she represents an exciting challenge, an inspiring companion, a potential life partner. Let me address something many of you are probably thinking right now. But Walter, the men my age are all married, divorced, bitter, or chasing younger women. Yes, there's a grain of truth in that, but there is also confirmation bias. If you believe that all good men are taken, your brain will automatically focus only on evidence that supports that belief and ignore everything else. It's like with the red car. When you buy one, suddenly you see red cars everywhere. They were always there, you just didn't notice them before. Mature, interesting, available men are out there. Maybe you just don't see them because you're tuned to the wrong frequency. Maybe you are so focused on appearing young and playful that you don't show the qualities that actually attract these men. Depth, wisdom, emotional stability. And where do you find these men? Certainly not in bars full of 20-year-olds. Not on Tinder, where they would have to compete with boys who could be their sons. You find them in cooking classes, hiking groups, book clubs, cultural events, organized trips for adults, places where they live their real interests, and meet women who share them. However, if you constantly spend time in the same places as young people and seek the same experiences they do, then logically you will find young men, and they will be happy to have you by their side for a while. But, and let me be very clear here, we are not talking about simply enjoying male company. There is nothing wrong with that. We are talking about emotional investment, about building a future, about matters of the heart with real potential for growth and stability. And for that, my dear reader, you must be playing in the same league as your potential partner. You must value in yourself the qualities you want him to value in you. And those qualities are not artificial youth, but genuine maturity. Remember this phrase, authentic maturity. Authentic maturity cannot be faked, bought, or copied. It must be earned, developed, refined with time and experience. A woman with authentic maturity has nothing to prove to anyone. She does not compete with younger women because she is playing a completely different game. She does not need to pretend because she knows exactly who she is, and she is proud of it. And that very confidence, that authenticity, that comfort in her own skin, acts like a magnet to men who have also developed their own maturity, because they recognize in you an equal, someone who enriches their life in a way that a less emotionally developed woman couldn't. Now let's get practical. How do you reprogram your brain so that you stop seeking validation from younger men and begin attracting men who truly do you good? Because it's one thing to understand everything intellectually, and another to change the patterns that led you to where you are now. The first step. Make an honest assessment of why you seek younger men. Is it because they make you feel young? Is it because you believe they are less complicated? Or are you afraid that men your age will judge you? Do you subconsciously associate mature men with your ex-husband or difficult father figures? Whatever the reason is, you must identify and question it. Behind every behavioral pattern lies a limiting belief, and behind every limiting belief lies an emotional wound that needs healing. Once you identify that wound, you can begin to heal it. And I don't necessarily mean years of deep therapy, although that may be helpful. I mean making the unconscious conscious, understanding why you do what you do so that you can then consciously act differently. The second step is to redefine what attractive means. If your definition is based on youthfulness, you will automatically feel less attractive with every passing year. But if attractive includes wisdom, experience, emotional stability, and genuine capacity for intimacy, you will feel more attractive with every year. Do you see the difference? This is not just semantics, it's neurology. Your brain literally builds new connections based on your definitions. Redefine attractive and your self-image changes. When your self-image changes, your behavior changes. When your behavior changes, your results change. The third step, seek places and activities where you meet men who are in the same life phase and appreciate your qualities. That often means stepping out of your comfort zone if you've mostly been spending time in very youthful environments. Do you love art? Go to exhibitions, join discussion groups. Do you love traveling? Book organized trips for adults. Are you interested in personal development? Attend lectures, workshops, retreats. Do you love good food? Take cooking classes, join gourmet clubs. The key is, do what genuinely excites you, not what might impress men. When you follow your true passion, you radiate authentic energy that magnetically attracts people with the same interests. The fourth step, crucial, is a daily routine of self-affirmation that does not depend on external validation. That means look yourself in the eyes every morning and name something you genuinely admire about yourself, regardless of appearance. Perhaps your problem-solving ability, your humor, your listening skills, your emotional resilience, your creativity, your intuition. Focus on those inner qualities that have grown with the years, because when your self-worth is based on inner, timeless qualities rather than outer, temporary ones, you will naturally become more attractive to men who have also developed emotional maturity. Now, something that sounds provocative but is true. Younger men who seek older women almost never want a serious relationship. They seek an experience, an adventure, something different. There is nothing fundamentally wrong with that. As long as you want the same, the problem begins when you interpret that search for experience as a search for real love. When you tie high emotional expectations to a dynamic that for him is fundamentally experimental, you break your own heart. Ironically, at the same time, mature, successful, interesting men are worrying that they aren't interesting enough for you. Men who see you as a prize, not as a consolation. But to recognize them, you must see yourself as a prize. And here we are again at the foundation, self-worth. Everything in relationships ultimately comes down to how you value yourself. If you see yourself as a complete, evolved woman with much to give, you will attract men who see themselves the same way and who are looking for exactly that kind of partnership. If you see yourself as someone who needs male youth to feel good, you will attract exactly that. Men who exploit that need. And I have worked with thousands of women, and I can tell you with certainty, the happiest ones are those who are with men who celebrate them for who they are, not those who tolerate them anyway. When was the last time you were truly celebrated by a man, not admired for a tight dress, not desired for sex, but celebrated for your mind, your soul, your essence as a mature, whole woman? If no moment comes to mind, then we need to sharpen your radar. Men who possess that capacity do exist. Perhaps you didn't see them because you were busy being seen by men who don't. And here's something fascinating about male psychology. Mature men who have done their own emotional work find a woman who has done the same extremely attractive. They don't want to rescue anyone. They don't want a dependent partner. They don't want theatrics. They want an equal. A partner who complements their life instead of complicating it. And you, my dear, bring exactly that, if you acknowledge it yourself. Let me address another common objection. I feel more comfortable with younger men, less intimidating, less complicated, easier to handle. And that is exactly the problem. If you seek relationships you can manage, you are seeking a power imbalance instead of a true connection. That's not a relationship, that's control. Valuable relationships require mutual vulnerability, enough strength to be authentic, enough maturity to handle the real complexity of emotional closeness. By definition, a younger man often hasn't fully developed that capacity yet. Not his fault, just his developmental stage. If you have already developed it, you need someone who has as well. Otherwise, you become the emotional mother, leading, explaining, carrying. That becomes exhausting very quickly, no matter how flattering it may sound at first. Do you know one of the sexiest things a mature woman can do? Have high standards and hold them. Not selling her worth in exchange for company, not accepting less just to avoid being alone. Chosen solitude is infinitely more powerful than desperate company. A man who sees that you would rather be alone than poorly accompanied recognizes your value and respects you. If he sees instead that you accept anything just to avoid being alone, he reads, desperation, easy prey, lack of self-respect. The key distinction is between available and desperate. An available woman is open to love, but she doesn't need it to be whole. A desperate woman needs love to fill an inner void that only she herself can fill. Mature men sense this difference instantly and are drawn to the available, not the desperate. Why? Because available signals shared, fulfilled living, while desperate signals emotional burden. If this is hitting you right now, if you recognize patterns from your own life, write down when your aha moment was. And if you know a woman who is stuck in the pattern of seeking younger men for self-worth validation, share this message with her. And now comes the most important part, my dear reader. You must realize that true attraction never lies in the pursuit of external validation, but in the quiet, unshakable certainty that your worth is non-negotiable. A woman who embraces her maturity, her story, and her uniqueness sends out a signal that no younger mirror can replace. That signal attracts men who value substance over surface. Men who don't just see your smile but your strength, who don't just see your body but your essence. That is the level where real love grows, a love not based on illusion but on mutual respect and admiration. So remember, your greatest magnetism is not in appearing younger, but in being unapologetically yourself. Authenticity is the only currency that does not lose value with time, it increases. When you begin to cultivate and celebrate it, you will experience that the right men, the ones truly ready for depth, consistency and real partnership, will find you without you having to chase them. And that is the moment when everything changes, when you no longer search to feel worthy, but know and embody your worth. Love will no longer be a gamble, it will be a natural result of your being.